All right, everybody, welcome. Flag me now. I know there's about a 10-second delay here. If you can't hear me or something, throw it in the chat here right now. It's 2 o'clock and we are getting started. Anyone showing up on our members only Google Meet session, that's where we will progress after this for some Q&As. You may be able to hear me there. You won't be able to see everything I'm doing. So if you're there, head on over to YouTube, the MK Quilts page. We're streaming live. So, all right, everybody, it has been a hectic week as usual around here. We're heading into show season, and we'll be at a Pasco show coming up next week, Daytona the week after that. I had to push this out from Saturday because a good friend of mine passed, and it's a blessing and a hardship as well, but I appreciate your consideration for missing the normal Saturday 2 o'clock. So I wanted to get something out each week. Most people with their busy days are going to watch it recorded anyways. So anyways, we're going to get to it here. So if you're new to this, seeing this for the first time, we started this program called Machine Owner Technician Training. If you have a handy quilter or one of the handy quilter built OEMs out there and you're not getting the support and you want to learn to maintain your own machine, service it, and yet do it in such a way where you have a certified technician group like MK Quilts. We got spare parts, we have access, we have all the training, and we have the silent blessing of Handy Quilter, well, that we can share some of the service manuals behind our paywall so that everybody can have a good experience with their machines, because not everyone is blessed to have a good technician nearby. So hello from Claremont. I've seen Alabama and a few other people, Indiana. Okay, thank you for showing up. I'm not seeing any calls that I can't hear you and things, so I will assume this is working, and I will keep going. Now, I am a little concerned about my volume, so I'm going to take it down just a little bit here. There we go. I hope I'm not blowing too many people's ears off. All right. So I do. Okay. I'm just going to adjust it down a few decibels here, and then I will leave it because I don't want people to have to adjust their volume a lot. So what we're going to do today is talk about the value of a used machine, especially if you're getting into repair. How much money do you want to invest in it? I will admit, due to time constraints and everything else going on in life, this is a little crude right now. I'd love to have a pretty presentation for you, but what we're going to do instead is just use some pictures I stole off the internet to talk about this, and where Handy Quilter came from. This is not a history, but when people are asking to trade in machines, you got to understand what their value is and why they're valued at that, okay? So most people here, and I will keep blowing these up as much as I can to, let's see if I am going to go desktop, right, full screen. You don't need to see me. All right, so the initial Handy Quilter machines were like the HQ16. You can see this one's got metal wheels. It's got a controller here in the side, a very limited front panel, anything. And then they came out with the HQ Simply 16. You can see today, I think they still sell these through a few channels. Very good machines out there, 16-inch throat depth, and now a new front panel. You'll notice different wheel system, and we'll talk about that with carriages in a little bit as well. But when we're evaluating the value of a machine, obviously if you're dealing with one of these older machines with the metal wheels and the carriages and things like that, they're going to be valued less than the newer machine. So even when you have an HQ 16, that can be, there are several versions out there that you have to look at, okay? Now we're going to talk from a reference point, because the most sold machine, the most manufactured machine out there in the industry was the Avante, okay? There were 3 generations of the Avante. You'll find out that a lot of these machines have gone through like 3 major reservations. I love live. 3 revisions, major revisions gone through, sometimes just adding basic features, changing where the power switches are, thread break sensing, things like that. But the reason it's one of the most sold, it was also sold as the crown jewels for baby lock. Okay, and you'll notice this says crown jewel. This says crown jewel 3. So there's 1, 2, and 3. That one, they actually talked about the different changes in there. Okay, and you can see this one shows metal wheels again, but the same basic structure. And then they moved into the black plastic wheels and a different frame trolley system on the carriages. So we'll talk about that. The reason I talk about the Avante so much is we take a lot of those in trade, usually with Pro Stitcher, and we'll start talking prices. But that's sort of a good footprint to see what the show price or the street price is and where the rest of these build out. Because now you're starting to talk about the HQ Fusion, which was a 24-inch version of the Avante, basically. Okay, stretch version bigger, but it required a larger frame, which is important to understand as we go through. Okay, when you start talking about these frames, that values into the value of the used system. Okay, this is the new Studio 3. It's built for up to a 20-inch throat depth machine like the Amara 20, but if you go to a Fusion or an Amara 24, you're going to be stepping up to a bigger diameter, heftier gallery frame. Okay, now the reason I bring this up is if you're selling a used machine and the person can pick up the frame, well, that's what you want to try and do, because if you're going to ship the machine out of state and they can't pick it up, you really can't ship these frames cost effectively. I've heard of some people spending $500, $600, $700 getting them boxed up and getting them moved. The gallery frame is going to cost you at least $3,000 new, and the Studio around $2,000. Okay, just from a loose ballpark, these aren't quotes, but when I'm assessing value. So if I tell you an Avante with Pro Stitcher on a Studio frame is worth about $10,000, now you've got sort of an idea of where do you split that $10,000 up between. Now, good Avantes, good Pro Stitchers, we'll go into showing you actual Pro Stitchers and as to why they can affect value and how they've changed. So your machine may actually only be worth $3,000, your frame $2,000, and your Pro Stitcher $5,000, or vice versa. So that's how we're going to have to talk about pricing these things out. And of course, some people have the little foot frame with the little buddies, a 5-foot original clamp solution, which you can add the little buddy and you can do some rolling, but it's very limited. So sometimes, you have machines that are on tables that are smaller, and for some people that may be all they want, especially for just some basic free motion. All right, so we're going to keep this moving. I will take questions and things, but when we start talking about the Pro Stitcher here, this is a picture of the Avante. You notice the cables from the computer on top. The Pro Stitcher controller goes back over the machine, not through the machine like the new ones. But the reason I grabbed this picture is most people think the computer is the Pro Stitcher. That is where the Pro Stitcher software runs, but the real cost is down there in the carriage. Okay, it's the motors that drive things. Now, I actually have physical hardware here to show you. Okay, so this is going to be interesting because I am going to try and do a live, as I rotate some of this around. The camera should follow me over here, as we make our little adventure. This is what you get when you have high-tech cameras. I have my own intelligent camera. So when we talk about the first machines that ran Pro Stitcher, and I apologize, I do not disturb. Reject. Oh, exit. That's what happens when you do live. Come on, camera, get back over here. Okay. So you'll notice they retrofitted standard carriages with brackets screwed in, and as you may have seen in the other picture, manual gears. Oh boy, these do weigh a bit. To engage and disengage. All right. So this was the first version of the system where they didn't automatically engage with the table. All right. So this is version 1. And this might even be on a fusion tray, but you'll notice we have black motors again, but we also have a little stepper motor here that will turn and engage and disengage the motors with the gears. All right. Showing you how they look. You can see the black motors. Now this is important because if you have one of these Pro Stitchers, which has the automatic motors, and they're black, you cannot get a replacement brand new motor. I might have a spare depending on how things go, but the option for those of you, and this is another reason why when you're selling a used machine, if one of these motors goes out, the only solution is to, and if you're seeing stuff on the walls or stuffed animals, we'll explain that again another time. But all right, you can replace the entire motor tray in your carriage for about $3,000, you know, shipping and everything else. I don't consider that too bad of a solution since you paid at least $10,000 to $12,000 for a Pro Stitcher initially. The thing I like about this is you get a 5-year warranty on the motors if you do this. Now, I'm not saying everybody run out, but if you're selling a used machine, and if we want to try and offer a warranty with a used machine, we have to figure out that if it goes bad, we may be spending $3,000 to upgrade them to a new Pro Stitcher. So you can see the silver motors here. These came out a couple years ago. You know, there's less technology built into the controllers of these, and underneath this thing here you have a control board now, which didn't exist in the other version. So it's easier just to replace the control board than replace the whole motors if something in them go out. So this is just giving you an idea of some of the differences in Pro Stitcher. Okay. Now, some of you out there might have Pro Stitcher Lite, so let's go talk about that. This is a Pro Stitcher Lite motor carriage. You'll hopefully notice that the motors are much smaller, but effectively you have the controller board under here. You have a stepper motor to engage it. So when you're buying the Moxie or the Moxie XL, or I've seen the Simply 16s with Pro Stitcher lights under them, this is what you're getting that saves you thousands of dollars. Okay, let's just say between $6,000 is what you pay for this and $11,000 for the full Pro Stitcher. If you are in the market, we can find out what really makes sense for you, but I'm just showing you the different value items we have here. So this gets dropped into the Moxie or Moxie XL carriage. I will tell you, if you're trying to outfit your Simply 16 to work with a Pro Stitcher Lite, it will work. It works it a little more slowly because these motors, you don't want to get them jerking, and I don't think you'll get a good pattern because you've got a much heavier machine with the HQ16 or the Avante, or, well, I don't think the Avante is even supported on this, so the Simply 16 I think is the last one, or equivalent baby lock one. So I thought you guys might find this interesting, because when we start talking about, what does it cost to repair these? When should I be thinking about upgrading? What are my risks of staying with what I have? In the machines themselves, you might have a board or a power supply that might cost you $200 to $300. Okay, just from a part perspective, most of them will be $100. Like the Infinity's got a big board in it, all in one board, expensive, $300. When you're talking about some of the other boards in the machines and things, or in the controller board and the Pro Stitcher, if you're out of warranty, some of that can be replaced cheaply. But like I said, if you have those black motors on your Pro Stitcher, some of the controller boards are built into the motors. So if they go bad, motor goes bad. And I'd usually keep this for our MOTT group internally, but one thing you can look at in these motors, I have been told that if you look at, and I'll do it on this one since they're a little bit more exposed, but there's LEDs down here between the connectors, okay? They can be red or green. Sometimes they'll flash. But the idea being, if your Pro Stitcher's working and you end up having a motor problem and one of them is green and one of them is red, that's a bad sign. So that's something to watch for. And sometimes a reboot will clear things, but it's hard to see sometimes underneath. But that's one of the challenges that we've had. So I will go back to my desk here and see what some of the questions were, and then we will be moving on to our Google Meet for our members. If you find this information interesting, we're going to be spouting a lot of information, some of it free regarding troubleshooting and things. We have a lot of internal discussion items and training material in our MOTT training course, which is a semi-annual. You can do it in 6-month chunks, or you can get a discount and do it for a year, which most of the people that have jumped on have taken that value because you save $100. So let me check some of this. I hear you, Claremont. Okay, so I don't see any questions here. We don't have a lot of people on. I can understand this during the business day, but like I said, it's been hard to find time to do this. And for those of you who don't know, Melissa's as part of the premium membership. She has her Q&A, which happens to be tonight as well, so I will probably be on that as well. So we do try and keep a lot of live human contact out there with social media. So if you're just seeing us for the first time, this is sort of an advertisement as well. Okay, so I am only 20 minutes in, and I talked quick. I don't see any big questions there, so I will thank you. Like I said, let's summarize the cost here when you think about it. When we're telling somebody what their machine's worth, I will tell them your Avante with your studio frame and even a black motored, good conditioned tablet and Pro Stitcher, you're talking $10,000 to $12,000 for that setup. We'd sell it at that. Okay. If we had to put a table under it, now you're saying, okay, let's say it's 12. We take 2 off for the frame because we take trade-ins. We don't get the frames because we may sell them across the country. So now you got 5,000 each, and usually the value is slightly more towards the Pro Stitcher in value. So you're looking at $4,000, $4,500, or $5,000, $5,500 for the Pro Stitcher, as a total value. But if we were to give a trade-in on something like that, for us to handle the shipping and all the other stuff, you're looking at $2,000 we couldn't give you for the frame because you can't ship us the frame, and another $2,000 potentially because we need to make a margin when we bring it in, repair it, service it, get it ready, and ship it out. There's overhead there, so keep those things in mind. Fusions, we may still have a Fusion with a brand new Pro Stitcher carriage in it. I know this black motor carriage here might belong to another Fusion. You're talking about 14 grand with a gallery frame. 14, 15, depending on the age of the machine, something like that for a 24-inch, which is pretty good because even a used Amara 20 on a gallery frame is going to be over $20,000. So if you do have an interest in talking the value of your current machine and what you might want to do with it, just send an inquiry to sales@mkquilts.com, and that'll go into our sales thing where we can discuss values and what type of, we sometimes have some slightly used machines at discounts as well. So we'll always try and find you the best deal on that. All right, so we covered the value of our used machines. The Amara 20 and 24 have been out there a while. The Moxie has been out there a couple years now. That's a 15-inch, very starter system with an 8-foot table. You're talking only $5,000. Now they have the XL, which I like a lot more. That's sort of like an Avante light. I'll call it a light. It's a much lighter machine now. That thing's coming out at $8,000 with that same 8-foot frame that can go up to 10-foot frame, but that's a loft frame as well. So all these things affect the value of the other machines, but I can tell you right now the used machines are holding their values pretty good over the past 3-4 years. I haven't seen the value go down. I've actually seen some of the value of the Avantes go up. So I hope this information's helpful. I am going to say goodbye and let YouTube process this video. I am going to jump myself over to my pending Google Meet. Now, for those of you who are going like, well, how do I get here, whatever, as part of our membership, we have a forum, and within the forum, we list the events, and we have an event that lists the link that gets you into our members only chat room, which is pretty much open all the time if people want to jump on it. But right now we're going to go over there and answer some questions and talk about some other things that have been happening. All right. Thank you for watching, and I will see people over in the Google Meet in about 60 seconds. All right.